Hey everybody, welcome to the Roundtable call. So it is May 16th and we're jumping on. So tonight, 7 p.m. or whenever you're watching the replay, we're just going to chat about this month's theme. What's working for us, things that might be challenging, kind of our experience as we go through stuff, and just share a little bit and be able to provide maybe some advice or some context or some understanding for other people. So let's start with the activity audit, because that was my post in the Facebook group today, was about that. And full disclosure, last night it was at home date night and we're sitting there and talking about stuff. And so we use different feelings as prompts. So last night, our date night conversation was, what's making you feel anxious right now? What's making you feel excited right now? What's making you feel worried? And so we used like 3 or 4 different feelings and just talked about that through. And then we're just sitting there and Joseph's like, we need to do the activity audit again. I was like, okay, let's do it. Because we do it for like our whole life and marriage, and our businesses will just be like one card and we put everything up. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So we did not start last night due to time, but it was just interesting how literally this month, and that came up and he was like, we need to do that again. It's like, let's do it. Because we've done it a few times together. I do it all the time with my own business and stuff that I'm doing, but we have done it together a few times since the very first time that we did it. So anyway, that was cool. So experiences, challenges. Crystal, I'm going to call you out. I would love for you to share what you shared in the Facebook group, because I just think you were being super vulnerable. And I so appreciate that, because we can learn so much from what other people are going through.
Absolutely. Oh, I should probably. Oh, I am unmuted.
Yeah, you're unmuted.
There we go. So I just said that words don't come easy for me, and I struggle to define things, especially my feelings. And having it out there to look at my activity audit has certainly made me more intentional. The whole process has made me so intentional. It's made me really tune in to what I'm feeling about certain things, and not going through life with like a total whirlwind, right? Where it's just one kind of fire after another, and I'm just doing this because this person needs me. And really I'm choosing their needs over mine, or my own priorities as far as my family is concerned. So it's really had me look at things like that. I think the biggest reality for me was, friends, where do they go right now? And it's like, they go in no right now. Like, that is just so bizarre to me. So as things go, I mean, I'll be able to trickle them in for sure. But if I'm looking at what I have in my capacity right now, I need to be more intentional with my girls. They're 12, 18, and 19, and they're having significant others in their life. And I want to set a really good foundation for them and what their expectations should be and those kind of things. So that comes before friends. And that's just, not been a natural thought process, I think. So, and just the whole being vulnerable about words and feelings. Words is not my thing. And so I've struggled a lot with my emotions growing up. It's been something that I would just shut off. And so to actually define what's your primary feeling about this activity, it's like, I have to name feelings. I don't even know what feelings are.
So I might talk about it a lot now, but it was not my life or my story growing up. Like, this was a journey in my adult years, like as an adult, learning how to so an example to help you feel good about where you're at with your feelings and describing them. When Joseph and I were dating. So guys, today is our 10-year from our first date. What? He texted me, he's like, happy 10-year anniversary of dating. I was like, oh, you're so cute. Anyway, and when we were dating, he would ask me, so how do you feel about whatever? And I would sit in silence, thinking really hard, trying to figure out what the feeling and the emotion was that I was experiencing. And after like 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, can I get back to you tomorrow? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know what I'm feeling yet. Like there's all this stuff and I can't figure it out. And so for me, it's been a huge journey of like learning to be like, what am I feeling now? And just like sitting with it. Cause I used to live so fast paced and just, I was so busy all the time that I was never sitting with what I felt. And I think part of that was I was trying to fill the space in my life so I didn't have to deal with the stuff that was going on beneath the surface. But I also didn't necessarily get the skill set growing up as a really high introvert. My family is mostly extroverted. So I just didn't learn the skills of like, as a really high introvert, how to process that. Like I could never keep up. So I just never learned. Anyway, so hopefully that's encouraging for you because we're all on different places in our journey. So
it's so helpful because I think my illusion is that it's just something I'm not good at, and I'll let other people and their gifts kind of take over, whereas it's something I can cultivate. And seeing you do that is definite, or that you've done that is very inspirational.
Yeah, it's not been without its challenges. I was sitting in therapy one time. Hi, Janet. We're talking about the activity audit / emotions right now. I was sitting in therapy one time and I started crying. And then I tried to like stop myself from crying. And I just was like, sad is bad. That was the realization. I was like, but being sad is a bad thing. And she was like, why? Tell me more. And so like, once I dove into that, I was like, oh man, like I really had this conception that sad was bad. So anyway, yeah, no, it's been an interesting journey. All right. So let's jump back to the activity audit, unless someone wants to jump in about emotions, since we're just being super vulnerable tonight. The activity audit. One of the things I love that you said was how your notice for you is like, wow, Friends is in the no column right now. So one of the things that I had in my no column the very first time we did this, we had our family in the no. That was hard. And not because we didn't want to spend time with them, but because I was in such a bad place in terms of like just depression and anxiety and health-wise. I was just so exhausted. And we had spent the first year of our marriage like hardly ever together just because of my work schedule. And so, we were just like, no, you know what? Like we just need to be together. And so we didn't have anyone in. We did family stuff, but like we didn't intentionally like develop relationships. We went to the things that we needed to. And then we just spent as much time together as we could and like really tried to build back what we'd kind of lost through that season. So I hear you on tough decisions. It is not easy. So I know that at least Brittany and Kiana are both on, it looks like Brittany and Kiana are both on audio only. Do either of you or Janet or Jennifer have anything to chime in about activity audit?
Oh, hello, Brittany here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, everybody. I actually wanted to jump in. So I am completely behind, but I'm not worried about that one bit.
Good.
But I've been seeing the whole activity audit, and actually we my days are blending together, but we had to go to New York, I guess, last weekend. And so when we were traveling, I was listening to a lot of things and just kind of catching up on some of the videos, and got to hear the training that you did. I can't remember her name, but the other training. So I was just catching up. But
Rogan.
Yes. So I was listening to that and then listening to just kind of listening back. But I haven't done the activity audit. I've seen all of the great posts. And I don't know when I'm going to catch up. But I did just want to ask if you could, for me, who's shuffling through emails, if you could kind of explain what that is, because it looks amazing and I want to do it. But
yeah, for sure. The basic premise of the activity audit is that you're able to pause and kind of take a step back and objectively look at all the things that you're doing in your life. So on Brogan's call, she got us to do the activity audit from just a content perspective. So like, just think about the content that you're doing for your business. But with the activity audit, what you can do is, I like using sticky notes and putting them up on the wall. At least the first time, just because then it's very visual, but you can also do it in Trello or a Word doc or whatever. But the basic premise is that you write down every single thing that you're doing in your life, regardless of whether it is volunteer, side projects, hobbies, jobs, roles that you have like in the home. Like I would be like meal prep would be like an area, because what you're doing is the goal of this is to look and see, are there things that you need to shift to support you in where you're wanting to move? And so you then have 3 columns: a yes, a maybe, and a no, or an adjust column, as I like to call it. And so what you do is you strategically put all the Post-it notes with all the different things in your life in these different columns to help you kind of evaluate and go, okay, what should I be doing in this next season? These are all the things I'm doing right now. Or you might have some things that you want to do that you put on sticky notes too, to look at how can you kind of add that into your life or take that away. So it's just a super intentional exercise to help you evaluate and become a little bit more objective. Because the tricky thing with life is that life moves so fast unless we slow it down. And it's really hard to ask ourselves these tough questions when life is moving so quickly. So the point of the exercise is to kind of slow things down a little bit and really just like look and sit with it. So how I've broken it down is like, the first week, just write down all of the things and watch the video. And then the next week, it's like, okay, now put them up. Then the next week, look at it again, move things around, sit with it. Like we had ours up for 5 or 6 weeks the very first time we did it. And it was just up, and we constantly were like adjusting things and moving around. And then the goal is those no things, to figure out how to close those off, which is probably a really great topic of conversation if you guys have some things in your nose. How to like say no and close things off so that you can kind of let go of them. Now, the one thing that I said on a call with one of the girls last week is I said, no doesn't mean forever. It just means not now. And I think that's really important to remember, because so many times we see this like no column and it's like, but I don't want to stop that. You know, like for me, teaching dance was a big thing. Like leaving that world was like, oh, but I love dancing and it's been my life. But I knew that for a season I needed to let go of that, like even just dancing itself, not even teaching. But right now I'm doing a volunteer thing for a women's conference, and I'm running dance rehearsals and I'm teaching choreography again. And gosh, I'm rusty, but it's so much fun. And so it's like, I'm just doing this one little thing for this tiny season, and then I'm letting go of it again. And I don't know when I'm going to go to dance class next, but that's what it's really important to remember about the no is not now. It doesn't mean forever. So.
Oh, I love you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Brittany.
I found that very empowering, so that I could say no, because it's not a no, it's a not now. So it gave me permission more than the no really did.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Jennifer or Janet, have either of you done the activity audit?
I have, and I think I'm in a different situation than most people on the call, because I moved to New Orleans with my husband like a year and a half ago. So like my slate was totally wiped clean. Didn't have any friends, didn't have any job, clients. So I've just kind of built my life back up and just kind of doing stuff around the house and picking up a few classes. So I've got some studios that I'm at, but I'm at this point where I love the community that I've built there, but I realize that that's not where I want to be. Like, it's not going to help me grow financially or in my career, but now so I don't know what to do with that yet. And yeah, and need to figure out how to bring in more things that I really enjoy instead of just filling it up with tasks around the house.
It's really easy to do that, eh? And honestly, like, I think it's so great that you had that opportunity. I mean, I can only imagine how hard it was. Like when I moved countries, I went to Australia for school for a couple years. And I just remember being like, this is so weird and crazy. And I'm living in a new place. And it's a big, big adjustment. So it's totally okay that, you know what I mean? Like that's where you're at. But I love how intentional, and thank you for sharing about your coffee table project, because you'd mentioned that in maybe on one of the Facebook lives or something, that you'd taken the time to like do a creative project and like plan that in. And so I think it's so good, and we can be intentional with our time regardless. Like it's not about being busy, right? It's about doing the things that are moving us forward in our career, or that are moving us forward in our passions or our creative outlets, or whatever it is that we need to focus on in this season. And it's different for all of us. And that is the beauty of it, is living intentionally looks so different for every single person. So yeah, I think it's great. Did you have anything on your activity audit that was like a no?
Well, one of the studios that I'm at, I've been there for a little over a year. So all those people are kind of like the friends that I have in New Orleans. So, but it doesn't pay very well, and it's not like going anywhere. So I kind of want to let those classes go so I can grow in my business, but I don't want to let go of those connections. So I still don't know where to put that.
Yeah, totally. And that's a great example of something that like we need to let go of, but we want to do it really, really well. You know, like that would be an example of like Crystal saying no to her friends for a season. Like you want to do that really, really well and figure out like how you can still stay connected, how they can still know that you love them, how you can still have that community, but still for that season, like let something go. So yeah. Any ideas? Has anyone ever had to let go of a job, but you wanted to keep the community of people?
The only way I think that it will work. My idea is to get people onto like Facebook or on my newsletter and pop into and take classes occasionally and see people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Facebook is a great way to connect. Like I don't love Facebook, but the reason why I had it and I kept it is because when I went to school in Australia, I knew all these people from everywhere, and Facebook is how I keep in touch with them. Like still today, I can wish people happy birthday and connect and see photos of their kids. And like if Facebook didn't exist, like I would just have no idea what people are doing with their lives. So it is a great tool as well as a great time waster if you don't use it properly. So
I have to delete it from my phone every now and then.
Yeah, I haven't had Facebook on my phone for over 2 years now. It's so good. Yeah. Any other thoughts from anybody about the activity audit? Going once. Crystal, do you have something? No, you're grimacing. I was like, oh, does she have like this thing she wants to say?
No, I'm reaching for my cell phone to text my daughter to bring back the iPad that has my Trello in it so I could look at it.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it. What I would love to know is how, regardless of what you've done in terms of like the activities and things like that, how have you noticed yourself living more intentionally this month? Like regardless, it's not about checking off the boxes, right? And doing weekly actions. It's about the awareness and like paying attention. Like that's what all of the topics are. And it's like, do whatever exercises serve you right now in this season that you have time for. But how have you noticed yourself living more intentionally is like the main question. And then I have a couple others that we'll piggyback onto.
Hey, it's Brittany. I would say that for me, even though there's times where I feel like I don't keep pace, with everything as well as I'd like to. I think since I've joined, what's been in my mind is maybe a mini activity audit, but just that thought of, is this getting me where I'm saying I want to go? Or the whole idea of, okay, this is important, but is it as urgent as maybe others want it to be for me, or as I would like it to be? And so even though I think in my head, I get on myself a lot about wanting to have more things in my lovely calendar and all of that, those are some of the areas where I might fall behind, like putting things in all the places that I have and writing on my little whiteboard and all the stuff that I like to do. I have really enjoyed and appreciated that my thoughts have changed, just being much, much more intentional. And unfortunately, with what we're going through now, I think all the more so, everything that you're teaching is just really going to push us forward into the things that we really want to be doing. And I will say that, and I'm sorry, I can't see her name, but I know she was mentioning, the pushing away the friends and focusing on the children.
That was Crystal.
Oh, it's awesome. I think that's so awesome. And I know for Jennifer, she's moved, my husband and we moved to Atlanta, and it was just stupid how we did it. He actually was chasing me. We were dating, and I was offered a job, and so I moved for that job, and he was wanting to take things to the next level, so he moved. So we were in a new relationship in a new city and new jobs. And all of these things, it's like we just kind of made everything a priority. And so now I think it's been really, really helpful. I have found that even though we haven't fallen into how all of these tools work for the pair of us as a family, the thoughts are there, and I see us being more intentional. It was really funny, actually. I was listening the last time you were live, and you were sharing the, no and not now thing, and I was listening from the side, but had this really fun moment, this thing pops up in my calendar, and it was my husband. He entered something in the calendar.
That's such a big win, isn't it?
This is awesome. So yeah, I don't want to be too long-winded, but just the being intentional and the focusing on things that need focus has been amazing.
Yeah, that's so good. And I love what you said about how you might not have been doing all the exercise and stuff like that. Thank you for coming on this call right now, though, and sharing and everything. We are so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
So tough, so tough. But I love what you said about your thoughts are changing. Because I think that that's the most important thing that could happen is that the thoughts start changing, because where our mind goes is where our life goes, And so I just think that that's so powerful. And I love the little chit chat. I totally missed Janet's comment. I was listening to Brittany, and so I missed her comment, but Janet had to run, teenager crisis. And Crystal's like, I get that. I do not. But guys, she's 11 months next week. How does that happen? It goes so fast. I'm planning her birthday party. Totally off topic. I'm sorry. But once you get me on kids, she has to come up because I love her anyway. And it's my life right now. Yeah, so good. What are you guys finding hard this month? What is the challenge or the tough work that you're doing, if there is any? Crystal was unmuting herself right away. She's like, I've got something to say.
Yeah. It's the consistency, right? Staying in that intentional mindset, because like I have my calendar here and I have, I got to show it off. My picture's so pretty. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, you're all aboard. That's so good.
Yeah. So I have those things, but it's so easy to get swept back into the whirlwind and swept into the busy. And I can see the light. I can see the hope. So that's there. But the struggle for me, the most part, is keeping it on my mind's eye, like just totally being totally purposeful in everything, right? And so intentional instead of just, and that, I think can be really vulnerable and confess too, that I caught myself on several occasions where I had the opportunity to just be still and I chose not to. So talk about maybe some extra therapy work for myself, but what's going on there, right? And so just being aware that I'm choosing busy over the stillness and being purposeful. So just calling myself out.
Well, and here's the thing I want to remind you, right? You've been finding the consistency challenging, but you're just starting, like give yourself some grace, because you're just at the beginning of your journey, and that's when it's the hardest. And so, I don't know if like Post-it notes on your mirror or things like that work for you, but just think of maybe like a prompt question, like whether it's something as basic as, how will I live intentionally today? Or how will I live on purpose today? Or how will I choose purpose? Or I will choose purpose. Maybe it's a statement rather than a question. I don't know, right? But think about it, and maybe something like that that's like helps you start your day. So it's like, even if all the decisions throughout your day aren't necessarily as intentional as you would like, I did stuff today that wasn't as intentional as I wanted to be. Guys, I'm running a tidy office challenge, and today I spent 10 minutes in my desk because that was my day. My volunteer work was way more than I thought I would. I did not deal with any of my paperwork. I cleared off my desk from my paperwork from yesterday. That's all I did. But I spent time outside with Em and we explored. And you know what I mean? Like it's okay, and that's why I shared in my post. I'm like, everywhere I'm commenting, I'm like, I am so proud of the people that are like overhauling their office. That was my intention. It's just not happening. This week is a lot more full than I'd expected it when I'd scheduled it, right? And actually, in full disclosure, it was supposed to be last week, but then China happened, and I was like, I have to bump it. Like, I can't do it the week after China. So I hadn't originally planned it to be this week, so there were other things, right? So I think the main thing is like, that's our goal, that's our intention, is to be more purposeful, and we do what we can. And when we remember the quote, progress, not perfection. Are you more intentional today than you were a year ago? You're winning, right? And that's the point. So, yeah. Anything anyone else is experiencing is hard, or something that's working for you that might help somebody else.
One thing that's helped me is actually I got this idea from that meal planning workshop where she says pick 7 recipes and just repeat those. It's taken so much off my plate, but it's it's just made it so much less stressful to like come up with meals and grocery shop and stuff, and so it frees up so much more room to focus on the important things.
Yeah, that's so great. I honestly, that was a big mental shift for me too. I was like, really? You pick the same 7 meals and you just repeat them? I can do that for lunch. Well, if I had like 2 or 3 lunch options, I could eat the same 2 or 3 things for a month. But for some reason, I can't do that at dinner, and my husband can't either. Like, I could do like 2 or 3 meals maybe that we repeated every week, but I couldn't do all 7 for like a whole month or like 2 or 3 months. So I'm trying to figure out how I can like do it so maybe like I have like 10 or 12 different meals that I use in a month. So I at least repeat the same thing like 2 or 3 times a month. But like, yeah, I was like, I love this idea.
So I'm not perfect at it, but it's helped like batching. Like if I'm making a bunch of chicken, then just like shredding up a bunch, then putting it in the freezer. And my intention is to make like chicken tacos, but we don't always have everything that we need. So I can do something else with shredded chicken, and I still don't have to worry about the protein. And then it just makes that step a whole lot easier.
Yeah, the proteins is the one thing I've done for years and I love. So I've got that nailed down. Like I always cook way more. I hardly ever, maybe like one in like 25 meals I make, do I cook the meat when I'm making the meal. Like hardly ever, right? Because I pre-cook almost all my meals, all my meat, and then I just like thaw it and use my cooked meat and like reheat it and stuff. So like that's the one thing that I love because I don't like dealing with raw meat. And if I'm cooking ground beef, I might as well grab where it's on sale. I'll grab 2 or 3 of the big things, make one for like stir fry that night, and then cook the rest of it up. And then I've got it for all these other meals. So I do that really well, but I definitely.
You've already taken it away.
So those things I do, right? Like I've always been really good at like meal prep and like having stuff and having a stocked pantry. And like you guys, I have sheets on my cupboard, which I did before we had M because I knew I'm like, Joseph needs to be able to feed us. So the one cupboard is basically a list of meal ideas. So it's like, these are a bunch of different things that we can eat for breakfast. And these are a bunch of lunches. And these are a bunch of dinners. And then these are like, and like I say like sides, then I say like some of our favorite veggies. And then I'm like salad, Caesar, coleslaw. Like I like list out different things. And then the other idea. It's so good, right? Because then even when I'm like in a pinch, I just look and I'm like, oh yeah, I have all the things I need for that and that and that. Or whatever. Like I just always try to keep things. But then the other cupboard has a list of our freezer and pantry stock. So it's like pantry, and then it's like these are all the things that I keep in my pantry all the time. So I always have tomato sauce, I always have crushed tomatoes, I have my black beans, my chickpeas, my like, and I list out like all the things like my gluten-free pasta and blah, blah, blah. But then I have our freezer, sorry. So like our freezer before I was born, it was like, these are our cooked meats. So I'm like, I have shredded chicken. I have, ground beef. I have pulled pork. I have like, these are all the cooked ones. And then this is uncooked. So I had like marinated, like I always like marinating my meat and then freezing it. Cause then all we have to do to barbecue is pull it out the day before, thaw it out, and then we throw it on the barbecue and it's already marinated. Right. And as it thaws, it sucks in everything. So it's like super good. So then it would be like, then we've got burgers and we've got frozen pizzas. And like, I listed out all the different stuff that we had. And then I would cross things off as we ate it. So it was like, we had 4 shredded chicken. Nope. Now we have 3. And so like, that's how we survived the 3 months after Em was born. So
do you have a program for this?
No.
I want to know how to do that.
But like, so that's how I work. So I'm always prepped in like the part stuff, but I also like eating fresh. So then we'll eat like leftovers. So I'll make stir fry, but I make it massive. And then it's like lunch and or dinners for like another 3 or 4 days. So that's how so rather than like the same meal every day, because I don't like freezing stuff too much. Like I freeze parts of it, but I don't like freezing whole meals. So that's the only thing I was trying to get my head around with her system. But anyway, so that's what I do.
That's impressive.
And it's great. So I've not been as good though since she's been born. I've definitely fallen off the wagon a little bit, but the basic concept is still there. So we totally, that was what's working for you. Meal planning and batching, that is working. And that's how we got there. Just in case you're watching the replay and you're like, why are they talking about this? Because that's something that's working for Jennifer.
Yeah, the whole meal planning worked for me for a week too, because I did like 8 meals and they've been in my freezer. And then we had someone in our district at church who needed a meal, and I was able to just pull one out of the freezer and deliver. So that was very handy. Whereas before I'm like, I don't have time to make my own family food. I can't make you food. So that was kind of a lovely win. I don't know when that'll happen next, but
another tip, if you have to take people food, something that works great is a pre-cooked chicken, like from the grocery store. And if you always have like pasta and pasta sauce in stock, you grab a box of pasta, a jar of pasta sauce, you pick up a chicken, and you grab a bagged salad. Honestly, it's great. Like that's what we got that a few different times, like after Em was born. And it's like, I don't care how my salad comes. I don't need you to make something and chop veggies. Like I'm fine with a bag. I just want something fresh. And I would like something warm, like a hot chicken that I can shred and put in my pasta, or just have that in the salad. You know what I mean? So anyway, there's all these like little things that I've picked up now. The other thing too, guys, if people have kids or they're going in for surgery or whatever, and you ever need to do food for somebody, help them stock their freezer ahead of time rather than taking them a meal after. So like I did that for a friend. Like I strategically like plan meals, and then I put chili in a big jar, and then I put soup in a big jar. And then when I was making energy balls, I like quadrupled my recipe so that I could send a few bags for her. And so then when we went over, before we went on vacation, because we knew that they were going to have the baby, I was like, hey guys, here's some food. I basically gave them like 3 or 4 meals and like stuff so that they had it, and then they can use it whenever they need it. So anyway, that's the other thing that I've learned, is that is just as helpful, if not more, than like an actual meal the day of, because then you've got stuff. Anyway.
Well, my whole thing to talk about meals is really about limiting options.
Yes.
Giving less choices makes it so much easier.
And you know what? Let's segue this back into all of our life. Limiting your options works in every area of your life. Every single area. The less options you have, the better. Like I am trying so hard to do this with my closet, guys. Like that's another example, right? The less options you have, the easier it is. Like that's why in my drawer, I have a couple like random pens just in case like I run out and I've got something. I use the same kind of pen. I have 3 colors, and then I have extra blacks. This is all I use. And it's like, I don't ever waste a second. I just reach in, grab my pen, and I'm ready to go, right? Like there's all these like little things, even just with like files or photos or like the activities that we do. Like this is the essentialism concept, right? Is less but better. Because when we do less, when we have less, when we want less, we have better quality things. So not saying that all of us should have less friends or, you know, less kids or whatever the situation is just because we want better. Because I don't think that can be applied to every single thing. But I think just as a general concept, like less but better is such a powerful, powerful truth. So yeah, I love that. Removing options. Which brings me to this one thought, which I thought, living intentionally, I think the topic of trade-offs is huge with this month's theme. Because everything is a trade-off. And I was on a call, and it was all about like moms and business or whatever. And I said, one of the best advice that I would share with other moms or other women in period is you can have anything you want, but you can't have everything. Right? So like there's this image of like being super mom or super woman and like being able to do all the things. And it's like, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. Like we have to choose, right? And so saying yes to one thing means saying no to another. So do we know what that trade-off is? Like Crystal's clearly defined, like I'm saying no to my friends so I can say yes to my girls, right? Like that's a trade-off. You're doing that, but you know why you're saying no to something, you know? Or if I'm saying yes to more family quality time, it's because I want to say no to like TV or whatever, you know, like we're going to do things together. We're going to get out. And I love that we can finally get outside again. Guys, this winter was a whopper. Like it went forever and ever and ever. And I was just like, anyway. And so it's just so nice to be able to actually go outside with Em and be able to spend more than 2 minutes. But it's all about like figuring out like what is the trade-off we're willing to make, because sometimes we're not willing to make it yet. Sometimes we're not willing to say no even for what the benefit might be. So anyway, trade-offs, it's a powerful thing. Think about it. Anyway, that's all I wanted to add. Any thoughts from you guys? Thank you for sharing so much. I know we had a bit of a smaller group, so I appreciate you guys all being willing to share what's going on for you. I don't see anyone unmuting. So I will close with a question. P.S. before that question. I think the poll results are in, and that May 30th is going to be our Essentialism Zoom call. So we're going to like do this so that people can hop on like video and share and talk rather than Facebook Live, because it's just chatting in the comments. So anyway, and we're going to talk about essentialism. So I need to try to reread that book in 2 weeks. I've got lots of notes on it though. So if I don't reread it, I'll still be able to keep up, but it's such a good read. So anyway, that would be the note. What I would love to know from you guys is for the next 2 weeks, for the remainder of this month, what is the one thing that you want to be more mindful of, or that you are making as like your priority for moving ahead as you are on this journey of living more intentionally? What's like the one thing where if you made progress on that one thing, or if you shifted that one thing, you'd be like super proud and really happy? Don't all talk at once now.
There's just so many things.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If we try to do all of it at one time, then we don't usually end up making any progress, right? Where it's like if we can focus on an area and like really devote ourselves to making change, then we end up seeing a lot of progress.
Okay. So super personal, but again, I just think this is where joining this group is taking me ultimately. So the quick backstory: recovering workaholic. Yeah, it was what drew me to this, because, and I've said this before, you know, in other groups, but I honestly came into this with the intention to go back to that. Like, oh, hey, my husband and I, like, he's got his groove going, I've got my groove going. And so now I can go back to the girl who has, you know, label maker, like everything is labeled and everything is on the calendar, and there's calendars everywhere, and all just, you know, organization. And it's been really crazy, because the further I get into this, the more I pull back away from things. And one of the things that has been really a challenge for me is I really felt like, even where my business was concerned, that I wasn't going to be going into another greater phase of business. And I really fought that tooth and nail. I had a really great pitch for where I was going and how I was going to get there. And I really felt like I needed to focus on home, which I don't have children. So it's my husband and I. So that's really easy thing to ignore. You know, oh no, if I had kids, of course, I'd throw myself into that. But no, you know, I just need to do my business. I just need to help him do his thing, and we'll just be fabulous together. But I really just kept feeling this pull to focus on home. And so the more I was in this group, it's like, crap, man, I'm like making plans for doing laundry. And, and I was having a lot of calls with my friends like, yeah, I'm becoming like this housewife. What is that about? Why? But anyways, again, where we are today makes a lot of sense. I could not be all in on my business. Right now, I need to be all in my home. And that's cool, and that's fine, and that's great. And so, and I apologize, guys. I so thank you all for just, you're so honest. I am another person who doesn't always know my feelings. I'm not a feeling person. I'm a very relational person, but I'm not. My husband can tell you how he feels the second he feels it. And I'm like, come back to me on that and I'll let you know. So it's been super helpful as everybody has just been so honest about the challenges or the things that they're doing. It's helping me identify like, oh wait, I am struggling because I'm doing the same thing or whatever. So I just was going to say, you know, I think I would be really proud of myself if I continue to just say yes to this new phase, which right now seems like family. It's really not work. It's family. I mean, even down to, I think I mentioned on one of our calls, like I'm doing my 40th birthday with my sister because she's turning 30. I would not have done that. So, you know, I've been using what I'm learning to plan a birthday party. That's not something I normally do. I always want to plan around work and around tasks, things that have to get done, things that look important. So it's really great being around like-minded people too, just to hear that you guys are focusing on family or babies or moves and all of that is really awesome.
That's so good. Thanks for sharing, Brittany. I think the thing that's so good to remember is like life is a series of seasons and every season looks different. And I think it's not a coincidence that you were feeling drawn to family, and then something happens in your family and you're able to be there and be totally present because you'd already been shifting some of your attention into that. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that happened how it did. But I think that's one of the important things to like remember is that there are seasons for stuff. Like I am feeling like I need to get back a little bit more into like hustle mode with my business. But guys, when you've been out of hustle for years, it's really hard to get back into it. I made that comment on somebody's Facebook post in the group today. And I was like, I need to hustle. Like I haven't done a YouTube video in over 6 months, guys. I need to just hustle and get it done. But like when you've not been in hustle mode because you're living intentionally and I'm purposefully have slowed down my life so that I'm not having health issues and I'm not, you know, it's hard to like, okay, I'm just going to like push through and like work 5 hours tonight after I'm goes to bed. Like, no, like my sleep is more important. So like, I just, I have such clear boundaries that then sometimes I'm like, but I really need to get something done. Okay, like when am I going to do this? But I'm like, I won't sacrifice sleep. It's not happening. So anyway, that's one thing I would like to get done this month is have my next YouTube video ready to go, which is me being intentional. Cause it's like, I'm not going to be able to find more people and connect with more people and help people like shift and train and like serve people like I want to if I'm not creating content that's helping them find me, you know? Anyway, that's my thing. Okay, Jennifer, Crystal, either of you have something that you would love to be intentional about this month?
I think just creativity, bringing more creativity in. Maybe not like redoing the furniture, but bringing more creativity into my business somehow. I've been wanting to grow my YouTube channel as well and wanting to like learn that stuff. So just like giving myself the space to kind of play in those different areas instead of feeling like I need to have this done by this date, this done by this date. Just make it more fun.
I hear ya. I hear you. I've actually been thinking about, once this video is like done and out, of like not doing my big produced videos for a while and doing like recorded videos just on my webcam and doing like 2-minute Tuesdays or something where I talk about a tiny little topic for 2 minutes on my webcam, start, end, no fancy stuff, and just throw it up there every week. Just like, you know what I mean? Just to get like little things. Because I think sometimes, because I want to do content and stuff that's like quality and high quality, because that is my brand, I think sometimes that really hinders me because it takes so long to get something done. So I'm thinking about ways that I can just like make it faster. Kind of like that creative, but like also just like lower my standard of quality a little bit so that I can have more fun with it and I can get more stuff out. So yeah, I am looking forward to seeing what comes of that creativity challenge.
Yeah.
So good. Crystal?
Yes. So with doing the whole values exercise and the activity audit, and I can't remember, I think it was you that someone challenged us to ask people in our lives to describe us. I don't know where it came from.
I have said that before, but
okay. So I went to some people around me, and I'm starting to do some work with a therapist, and so we're dealing with some growing up issues, like the whole feelings thing already. So I'm trying to find my own branding, really, right? And to live more authentically and to be more purposeful. I'm just being inspired by Brogan and you, and I have a beautiful calling at my workplace. And so I want to just kind of find myself as a whole and what that looks like, and try to brand myself and have kind of advertise for breakthroughs through my Instagram account and what that all looks like. And so by looking at the words that these friends have given me, it's just kind of centered that a little bit too. And so getting that information has been really helpful. So I would like to kind of in the next month compile that and really kind of find where that leads me anyway. So
yeah, that is so good. I love it. I love it. Yes, I'm all for going and seeing a therapist. I think it's one of the best things you can do.
Amen.
Anyway, I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. And that's one of the things that I love about this community is that everyone is doing different things. Some people are running their own businesses. Some people are working full time and running a side hustle. And some people have full-time careers, and like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, we can be intentional, and this applies regardless of what we're doing. So that's really cool. I love that. So good, guys. Does anyone have any last like questions or comments or things they'd like to share? If not, we'll wrap things up. But thank you for showing up live, and thank you for those watching the replay. I appreciate you taking the time to watch our conversation, and please reply back to the email and that this came with, and let me know if you've got questions or comments or what you're working on. So, any final parting thoughts from the 3 wise women on the call? No, nothing. No one's unmuting themselves. So you guys are like, nope, we're done. Awesome. Well, thank you. Oh, Jennifer.
I do have one thing. Just been in the back of my mind since you guys have been talking about emotions and stuff so much. One way, I'm not very good at like speaking or verbalizing emotions, but one thing I found helpful is to write them down, just like a free stream of thoughts. I find that way I usually am able to kind of get to the bottom of whatever it is, and then it's like out of my body.
Yes.
So if that helps. anybody.
That is so good. I would definitely agree with that. The other thing that I found is like Joseph would want to like sit down and like look at me and like have a conversation. And I was just like, this is too much pressure. Like you're just staring at me while I'm trying to think and figure out what I'm feeling. And I just can't do this. And so what we learned is that driving and going for walks, I'm way better communicating and figuring out my emotions because he's not looking at me. We're looking in the same direction. And so that was like a big thing for me. Writing is also helpful, but if I have to have a verbal conversation, I'm way better that way. So yeah, I'm all for sharing all the tips for communicating emotion. And actually writing, has anyone ever, yeah, all four of us are married. Have you guys ever written letters to your spouse as like the start of a conversation? Yeah, Crystal's nodding her head. That's one of the best things. My husband and I started doing this. We were in like a small group, whatever. And the activity was to actually every week write a letter about what you were feeling, how you were experiencing the other person, if you'd had expectations or felt let down or like whatever it was that was going on, and to like write it down. And so we would each separately write our letters and then we'd exchange them and then read them. And then we would talk about that and give each other feedback. But it removes the need to defend ourselves that we sometimes feel like in the moment, because the emotion is on the paper. It's not the person. So then when you exchange and then we'd be able to talk about that, it just was very much like we could just have a conversation very objectively about the topics. And really, that hurt you when I said that? I totally didn't know, like rather than like tears or angry words or whatever. So anyway, yeah, I'm a big fan of writing. It's so good. Any other tips? Since we're back to emotions tonight, I love where this conversation, it can go anywhere, and that's where it's been going tonight. Any other tips or thoughts about communicating that's been helpful for people? No. Okay. We're good. You guys are awesome. Thanks for jumping in live. I hope that you have a great rest of your night and a great rest of your month. Thank you for joining me for the round table call this month.